Short story from the Echoes of Ashes.
The fall of Amera. The first sign that the apocalypse had reached Amera was the silence. Serina had always known the town as a bustling hub of trade and camaraderie. Merchants lined the cobbled streets, their shouts mixing with the laughter of children chasing each other between carts laden with exotic goods. But as she and her Lightpact squad approached, the only sounds were the faint rustle of the wind and the distant echo of something unnatural, a guttural, rasping noise that sent chills down her spine. "The corruption's already here," said Taryn, her second-in-command. He was older, his weathered face framed by streaks of gray in his beard. "We're too late." "No," Serina said firmly, gripping her glaive tighter. The crystalline blade shimmered faintly, responding to the strength of her faith. "As long as there are lives to protect, we're not too late." Taryn gave her a skeptical glance but didn't argue. The others, for soldiers, each wearing the golden tabard of the Lightpact, followed silently, their weapons drawn. They entered the town cautiously, moving through alleys and keeping to the shadows. The corruption was visible everywhere, creeping black tendrils snaked across walls and cobblestones, pulsing faintly with an unnatural rhythm. Where they touched, life seemed to wither. Serina's breath caught as they turned a corner and saw their first victim. A merchant, his body twisted and blackened, lay sprawled against an overturned cart. His face was frozen in a rictus of agony, and his eyes glowed faintly with the same eerie light as the corruption. "By the seven," whispered one of her comrades, a young healer named Elise. Serina knelt beside the body, murmuring a prayer under her breath. The light of her glaive flared briefly, but it did nothing to cleanse the darkness. She rose, her jaw set. "We move forward," she said. "There may still be survivors." As they pushed deeper into the town, the signs of the corruption grew more alarming. Buildings stood abandoned, doors ajar as if the occupants had fled in haste. Shattered glass glinted in the fading light, and the occasional whisper of wind carried a mournful tone that echoed off the walls. Then, they heard it from the shadows, a low growl that reverberated through the empty streets, punctuated by the occasional rustle of movement. Serina exchanged glances with her squad, adrenaline surging through her veins. "They're here," she said, her voice steady despite the fear creeping in. "Stay alert." They rounded another corner, and the scene unfolded before them like a nightmare made real. Creatures twisted by the corruption lunged from the alleyways, their skin mottled with dark veins, and leered at them with predatory hunger. "Seven, protect us," shouted Taryn, raising his shield as he charged forward. The squad fell in behind him, weapons drawn. The first of the creatures lunged at Serina, its jagged teeth snapping inches from her face. With a swift motion, she swung her glaive, the blade slicing cleanly through its neck. Black ichor sprayed across her armor, but she didn't falter. She could feel the light of the glaive pushing back against the corruption, its radiant glow a reminder of her duty. "Stay focused," she called out, rallying her comrades as more corrupted creatures emerged, their numbers overwhelming. They fought as one, each strike fueled by their determination to protect the town. But for every creature they felled, two more took its place, their shrieks piercing the air. Taryn swung his sword with practiced precision, but Serina could see the strain on his face, the weariness creeping in. Elise stumbled, caught by surprise as a twisted creature darted past her defenses. Serina reacted instinctively, shoving the recruit aside as she spun to intercept the attack, her glaive cleaving through the creature's body. Elise fell to her knees, gasping. "Get up!" Serina shouted. "We can't give in." The battle raged on, but the tide was turning. As more of the corrupted surged forward, Serina could see the fear in her comrades' eyes. She gritted her teeth, and drew upon her faith, channeling the light to heal Elise and bolster her allies. "Keep fighting. The seven are with us," Serina cried, her voice ringing with conviction. But as the last of the creatures fell, the sound of laughter echoed through the square, dark and mocking. "Foolish mortals, thinking you can save this pitiful town." From the shadows a figure emerged, tall, clad in armor that glimmered with the darkness of the corruption, the lieutenant of the ancients. Its eyes blazed like twin suns, and an aura of dread surrounded it, a palpable force that made Serina's heart race with fear. We will protect Amara. Terran shouted, stepping forward with his shield raised. The lieutenant laughed, a sound that sent shivers down Serina's spine. You cannot protect what is already lost. With a flick of its wrist, a wave of dark energy surged forward, striking Terran and sending him sprawling to the ground. Serina screamed, instinctively rushing to his side. Terran lay motionless, his body shrouded in darkness. Serina felt a pang of despair as she realized the gravity of their situation. The lieutenant was far more powerful than they had anticipated, and they were quickly losing hope. We must fall back, she said urgently to the others. No. Elise protested, her eyes wide with terror. We can't leave him. We can't fight this battle. We need to regroup. Serina insisted. But as they began to retreat, the lieutenant raised its hand. You think you can escape? I will savor your fear before you die. Act 2. The remaining Lightpact members fled through the town, dodging falling debris and the encroaching tendrils of darkness. Serina's heart raced as they pushed through alleyways, desperate to reach the outskirts where the townsfolk had fled. She could hear the distant sounds of panic, the cries of people fleeing the chaos. As they reached the edge of the town, Serina spotted a group of civilians, a family huddled together, their faces streaked with dirt and fear. She motioned for her comrades to help them. Quickly. This way. Serina urged, leading them toward the hills. They moved as fast as they could, Serina's heart heavy with the knowledge that they might be leading these innocents into danger. The looming figure of the lieutenant seemed to shadow them, a dark promise of vengeance. Halfway up the hill, Serina glanced back at the town. Flames flickered against the darkening sky, and she could see the lieutenant moving among the ruins, a predator reveling in the destruction. Keep moving. Terran shouted, rallying the others. But as they reached the caves, Serina felt the weight of despair settle over her. They had lost so many already, and now they were on the brink of total collapse. In the safety of the caves, she turned to her comrades. We need to organize the evacuation. We can't let them come after us here. Elise, trembling and pale, clutched her weapon tightly. What if they find us? Serina swallowed hard, her throat dry. Then we'll fight. We can't let the corruption spread any further. As they worked to fortify their position, Serina couldn't shake the feeling of dread gnawing at her heart. The lieutenant was a force of darkness they had never faced before, and she could sense its presence lurking just beyond the cave entrance, waiting for the moment to strike. The caves had provided some sanctuary, a refuge from the chaos outside. Yet, even within their stony confines, the whispers of the corruption seeped in like a noxious gas, twisting thoughts and provoking fears. Serina sat by the flickering fire, her comrades huddled around, their faces drawn and weary. They will betray you. They are not your allies. As they approached the heart of the town, the lieutenant emerged from the shadows, towering above them with eyes glowing like embers. It surveyed them with a malevolent grin, darkness swirling around it like a storm. Foolish mortals, it taunted, its voice dripping with disdain. You return to meet your demise. Charge! Serina shouted, and they rushed forward, their blades shining with the light's energy. But the lieutenant raised a hand, summoning a wave of twisted monstrosities to intercept them. Hold the line. Serina urged, fighting valiantly against the tide of corrupted creatures. She could see her comrades struggling, their expressions strained as they battled the relentless onslaught. But as the fight wore on, the whispers grew louder, filling their minds with seeds of doubt. Why do you protect them? They will not remember you, the voices hissed, preying on their fears. Terran faltered for a moment, glancing at Elise with uncertainty. We can't keep this up. What if we... No. Serina shouted, rallying her strength. We fight together. For the Seven. As they pushed forward, the lieutenant unleashed a torrent of dark energy, scattering their formation. Serina fought desperately, but she could feel the corruption creeping into her own heart, twisting her thoughts. Together, she cried, urging them to regroup. We must flank it. But even as they advanced, the darkness pressed in around them, threatening to engulf their resolve. Elise stumbled, her face pale with fear. Serina, I don't know if I can do this. Stay with me. We can't lose hope. Serina shouted, but doubt hung in the air like a heavy fog. As they finally reached the lieutenant, Serina felt a surge of determination. She charged, her glaive raised high, the light within her igniting as she focused on the enemy before her. For the 7, she cried, striking with all her might. But the lieutenant barely flinched, its laughter echoing through the chaos. Your strength is pitiful, it sneered, unleashing a wave of darkness that sent Serina crashing to the ground. Serina! Taran shouted, scrambling to her side. But as he did, the lieutenant summoned a horde of corrupted minions. Run! Serina gasped, struggling to rise. But it was too late. The stampede of twisted monstrosities surged past her, a tide of darkness that charged toward her comrades. No, she screamed, desperation clawing at her heart. She watched in horror as the creatures overwhelmed Taran and Elise, their cries echoing in the night as the minions tore into them. The echoes of low, guttural screams drowned out her thoughts, and the world around her dimmed as the shadows closed in. With each heartbeat, the weight of despair settled over her. She could see the lieutenant, unbothered by the chaos, stepping forward with heavy, deliberate footsteps, each step kicking up ash from the fallen buildings around them. Its eyes glowed with a cold hunger, and Serina felt the last vestiges of hope fading away. No, she whispered, her vision blurring as she lay on the ground, defeated. 7, help us. The last thing she saw was the lieutenant looming over her, a dark silhouette against the fiery ruins of Amera. Its shadow swallowed the light, and as darkness enveloped her, Serina felt her spirit slipping away, leaving behind the echoes of her comrades' screams.
A short story from the echoes of ashes. A short story from the echoes of ashes.